In 1969, Germany shocked the world with an artificially iced track. It's still clinging to the side of the Watzmann mountain in deepest Bavaria. Hello everybody, welcome back to Königssee, the oldest artificial track on the planet. Day one of the 2017 BMW IBSF World Championships. We're ready for the second heat of the women's bobsleigh. First day of competition for the women. John Morgan, fascinating battle shaping up already.
Yeah, Jermanka Drazic from Germany, you know, she gets great starts with this superstar that they have on the break, but she's the reigning world champion from last year, and she didn't do bad in the first heat, Jermanka. She came down, a rookie in the World Championships here, and she's in third place. She's chasing down two North American sleds, Kaylee Humphries, Melissa Lawholt. Other than their deficient start time, very surprised that they had a fifth best start. They're usually right there in the top two. But Humphries, the two-time Olympic champion, the two times world champion, she great speed in the bottom part of the track, and she's in second place, very close to the Alana Myers-Taylor and Carrie Jones. They had the best start in the first run. Myers-Taylor, who crashed in the first heat of training, but has done pretty good since then. She's won 4 straight races on the World Cup Tour. She'd lead the World Cup in points if not for a crash in the Whistler race. And Martin, it's a pretty close race in the first heat of 4.
Really is. Top 3 covered by 900s. And look, from 4th back to Misha McNeil in 7th, 500ths of a second covering the next 4 sleds. Don't forget, Alana Myers-Taylor, not just 4 straight World Cup wins, she's won the last 2 races on this track as well. She was the world champion in 2015, and we have the other world champion from 2013, Kaylee Humphries, in the field as well. 2 reigning world champion drivers and the world champion brakewoman. Nadia Segova crashed out in the first heat. She and her brakewoman are okay, but in floods of tears afterwards, they will take no further part in the competition. So we're down already to 21 sleds in this women's field, including our rookies from China, the country that will hold the 2022 games, making its first appearance. Air temperature hovering around 2 degrees, and what started this morning as rain turned into a sleety, snowy yuck muck in the first heat. That has just about stopped coming down now. Certainly very different in the warm-up area outside the start shed from how it looked an hour and a half ago coming towards us in the red pants. Sanne Dekker, Dutch girl who's sliding for Austria.
Yeah, that's a warm-up area. It's a little slushy. They have to be careful. You can get hurt up there in the warm-up area in these slippery conditions. How about the Chinese?
Athletes from China.
First time we've ever seen the Chinese in bobsled or skeleton.
And Qing Ying will be first off. She was 20th of the 21 sleds, followed by Russia's remaining slider, Alexandra Rodionova. And as we get down towards the bottom of the top 20, we'll get to our leaders with Cynthia Appia in a very strong 4th place for Canada, and the top 3. Jermanka from Germany, Humphries from Canada, and Myers-Taylor from the USA, as you might expect. The track is ready. We are ready. Settle back for the second hour of competition as we get underway once more with China. Yingqing and Ma Yuanyuan of China, the first ever international race for a Chinese team, the first ever World Championships in any ice sliding competition. They lie 20th after the first of our 4 heats. In the spectacles on the left, the long coat, Manny Mahata, former world champion for Germany, and he has been developing this team absolutely from scratch.
557, 300's better. Mahata, the former world champion in 2011 on this track, and I'll guarantee you these Chinese who have just started sliding 13 months ago, they've been on, he's taken them on every track on the planet, from Oberhof to Sigulda to Lake Placid, Whistler, Calgary. They've had some accelerated rise into the sport, and they're doing pretty good for 13 months into the sport.
And their driver Yin is still just 19 years old.
That's dangerous down there in that section of the track.
She's done 4 North American Cup races on the 2 tracks that they use, Lake Placid and Park City. And she trained here in the autumn, early winter.
Brakeman's head came up there out of the Echo Bond, I think. I think she didn't know. There's Manny Mahal on the left, the 2011 World Four-Man Champion for Germany.
Look at the slush and the spray coming up as they haul on the brakes there down in the finish area. Well, another safe trip down from here. And this is all about experience, John. This is baby steps at the foot of the mountain.
You get out of the 4 S's, boy, the snake pit 4-corner combination into the straightaway. It's not a straightaway, it's a bendaway. Then here, this is the exit of the Kreisel where the Russian sled crashed. And look at her, the way she squares it up here. See the back end of the sled come up? She got in there a little late, but she's doing this like she's done it for a long time. Wow, pretty impressive for the Chinese. First ever World Championships.
Down to 1 Russian sled, and Alexandra Rodionova, who finished in 6th place in the Vancouver Games as a luge athlete for Russia, is in 19th spot. Her brakewoman, Yulia Shokshweva.
Other than her teammate crashing, no one had a worse first run.
Yeah,
really. This athlete here, she should be in the top 7 or 8. She's 6th in World Cup points, and I'm sure the Russians are just shocked that their #1 team crashed, and their #2 team, was ranked 6th in World Cup points, was way back in 19th place.
Yeah, now Jessica Segova is 4th in the World Cup standings after a real standout season, and heartbreaking for her. She was in floods of tears, but the crew were uninjured. They just didn't complete the first run, so they are effectively
great speed. That's the first person we've seen with 111 kilometers. This could be the sign the track is quicker.
Top speed
and
so
look at
far.
This. She's almost a second ahead. She could move up 4 or 5 places. This athlete's been down the track more than anybody in the competition because she's a former luge athlete for 15 years.
She had 0.3 of a second in hand over the Chinese from the first heat, and at the line she's added 0.6 of a second to that. So there are your Chinese rookies seeing themselves on television for the first time, because in North America's Cup they don't get that for certain.
And she comes down a ½ second faster in the second run, as expected. That first run was a disaster for the Russian program, because they had some great hopes, ranked 5th and 6th in World Cup points coming in here, and just didn't perform in the first heat. This is the 4 S's, the snake pit. You have to climb, get your precision point, and then exit out of the 4th S into that long bend away with an acceleration point.
Well, there is Anastasia. Alexander Rada. Third of the sleds in the second of 4 heats in the Women's World Championships. All these World Championships competitions, 4 heats deep, is Switzerland's Martina Fontanive, with one of twin sisters breaking the 2 Swiss sleds. This is Rahel Rebsamen on the brakes.
Yeah, Martina didn't compete last year. We talked about it. She had this sinus condition that was just a lot of pressure. She'd have had it. She just couldn't compete. The doctors wouldn't clear her. And she's back and refreshed. She's got a guy named Christoph Langen coaching the development teams now, the former 5 or 7 times German world champion.
Oh, takes a big hit on the bend away.
She's in red numbers, as you can expect. The Russian might live in that leader's box down there for 4 or 5 more sleds.
Swiss sleds had very good speed at the bottom in the first heat, no matter who was driving them.
Little mistake there out of Kelstein, and she's a little high there. See if she can keep it straight in this uphill section of the track that I call a graveyard section. You can lose all sorts of time in the last 150 meters going uphill. 52-14, 10 hundredths faster. There's Christoph Langen. And the Russians, they could live there for a long time. Martina not happy with herself. Crowd gathering here in Berchtesgaden in these terrible conditions. The start, well, look at the brakeman. Look at that, she almost fell. Her handle, the transition. But how many trips has she got? She's brand new in the sport.
Yeah, this is her 2nd ever race.
Well, 3 sleds down. A lot more to come. And then here, the exit of the 4 S's. This wasn't bad. That was pretty good.
Where she took the 2nd hit that put her sideways. She now is in 2nd place. 3 of our 21 sleds down, and the first of 3 Belgian sleds, only 2 of which are actually being driven by Belgians. We'll talk about that in a little. This is Alfie Willemsen, the best of the Belgian drivers, but the worst placed in the race.
Well, when you don't have a start time like she had, 17th ranked start of 22 sleds, and she's going to get crushed here again by the Russians. And she does. She's
raced here in the World Cup just 3 weeks ago. She was 6th.
Yeah. So what happened to this? One of the 2 Belgian bullets in the field. She's a great driver. Her teammate had the best speed on the bottom part of the track in the first run, but again,
much better line down the bend away and into the Kehlstein curve round this 270-degree Kreisel.
111 speed we saw.
Half a mile an hour slower than the Russians. The gap's coming out though, up to 1400s ahead of Rodionova.
Well, she's a speed merchant. She can find speed on the bottom part of any track. She just has that start nemesis to worry about it. She's got to hit a home run every time down the track to be successful. 51.63. Well, that's a pretty good home run there. That's 5200ths better.
Half a second better than her first run, and that first run, unfortunately, was a loose one that she didn't need. Like it's like in biathlon, when a shot goes wide, there's a penalty to be skied. Here, if you have a bad first run, there's a penalty to be paid. You're always playing catch-up.
But at least it's a 4-heat race and not a 2-heat race like you see in the World Cup. This is the snake pit to 4-quarter combination. Look at the speed at the end of the exit here. Williamson with the deficient start time at the halfway part of the track because of her lines through that snake pit. She had the best speed. That's why she's the leader.
Sophie Verkrijsen down there with our leader, Elfie Willemsen. And here is the second of the Belgian sleds and the second of the Belgian teams. This is Anne van Nieuwenhuizen, the 25-year-old, and her brakewoman, Nel Paulussen.
Came off the bench.
Yep, in for Sophie Verkrijsen late this morning.
Yeah, we got a change about 45 minutes, an hour before the race started. We saw the change come in. Don't know what happened to her.
Paulussen in. She normally brakes for Liane de Decker, and Liane de Decker's not here sliding, but her sled and her brakewoman both are.
That's coming up next. Now, this Belgian sled had some of the best speed on the bottom part of the track of anybody in the first run. But again, giving up all the time at the start. Look at the lines.
Yep.
Look at, I mean, barely touches. There's the normal is to hit twice there. That's the normal. Here's this Kreisel now, 110.9 is excellent speed.
Within a whisker of the fastest speed, and that was Rodionova, so she's closing on her teammate. She's in second place, only just a tenth of a second behind.
Speed here in the graveyard section. She got the best speed.
She's not going to catch Elfie Willemsen, but she will.
Ducks her head. Oh, that's so cool.
There's Elfie Willemsen on the right, Sarah Ertz, her brakewoman on the left, and into second goes Anne van Nieuwenhuizen. So Willemsen jumps her less experienced teammate.
There's Hans Hillebrand, see the guy in the black, 3 times world champion for Switzerland, with his wife Ursula looking on. Nice to see Hans here. Look at these lines. I mean, this is as good as it gets. The Belgian bullets can drive. Their nemesis is they just can't start the sleds to be competitive. She got 4th in Whistler, the first race of the year, but Whistler's one of the longest tracks on the planet.
Great woman humping the sled around. Elfie Willemsen and Van Nieuwenhuizen, top 2 after our first 5 sleds. Third Belgian sled in the competition is not driven by a Belgian. It's driven by the second Austrian driver, Katrin Beil. Beil crashed in the first day of training, injured her hip, had to sit out the second day. She's only had 1 training day, and that was the final day of training. She took 2 trips in a BTC sled they borrowed from the Russians. She went second fastest. The Russians immediately said, we want the sled back. So they have now been loaned a sled by the Belgians. So Liane de Decker is here in spirit, thanks to her sled.
And the driver, her father, used to be a former brakeman on the Austrian team. Her mother competed for Austria in the triple jump at the 1988 Olympic Games in Seoul, which we're hoping to Korea in a couple of weeks. And Catherine's been fighting a broken bone in her left foot. 5th bone. She's going to have surgery after the season. She's doing pretty good in her rookie year. Well, we saw her last year at the World Championships.
Yep. It's her breakout season in the World Cup.
This is pretty good.
Nice looking run, 500s in front of Elfie Willemsen.
Oh, a little waver there. See her on the exit. Oh, she's lost some time and she's a little late there. But of course, losing time to Elfie Williamson. A lot of people can do that.
In the third Belgian sled, this one is called
Oh,
Max.
she's coming back. Look
Here we go, within 100. Will she still be the top Belgian sled? No. She splits the Belgians with a Belgian sled. Manfred Meyer on the left, the coach, and Franz Josef Hoffmann.
Top 3 sleds by 1100s. Now the top 2 separated by 2.
Top 3 sleds are all Belgian sleds. 2 of them driven by Belgians, 1 driven by the Austrian and her Dutch brakewoman, Sanne Dekker.
Okay, we're going to show you picture on top of a picture. We're going to show it to you in Kreisel, which is, watch the lines here. There's different ways to get through here. There's a couple different pressure points, and look at the distance in comparison. One sled has a different line there. Less time traveled through the Kreisel in hundreds of seconds has to mean a big difference.
Think of a drag race. One car going straight, the other zigging and zagging. You know it's not going to be any quicker. Alpha Willemsen of Belgium leads our field as we get to Romania's Maria Constantin. She was tied for 14th place with Katrin Beil of Austria, who's 200ths of a second off the lead. Andrea Grecu, the brakewoman in this sled, is also a driver. She started 4 of the 7 World Cup races we've had so far this season in a second Romanian sled. But she's also their fastest pusher. So for the World Championships, their best 2 are back together.
Yeah, the brakeman finished 11th in Lake Placid.
With the Romanians not only competing in men and women's bobsled and skeleton in this World Championships.
All disciplines, as they always do.
Also be in the team competition, and Maria has also driven in the 4-woman sled competition that we had in Eagles last year.
She's going to have a perfect run because Elfie Williamson just put down a perfect run. 6,600, 6,700 is better than Elfie had.
Great
first
exit.
Second.
600ths of a second to lead. She started off 800ths in front, little skiddy down the bend away.
110.5 is good speed. Boy, big variance though.
Wavy
on those
in the
pressure points.
Seen that.
It's down to 100th. Well, there is speed on the bottom part of this track. We just saw the Austrian sled find some on the bottom and almost get to the lead. It's dead heat to 100.
Wow.
4th best speed.
Well, she was in a tie after the first heat. Is she still in a tie? No! That's
There won't be the
ridiculous.
last
She
time.
is still in a tie after the second heat.
That won't be the last time we see her this weekend in the next 2 weeks.
51.67 slide. So she was 400s in front of Elfie Willemsen from the first heat, 400 slower in the second. They are tied for the lead. That's ridiculous.
Yo, I'm seeing some really opportunity to make some time on the bottom part of the track here with these adverse conditions. Look at the scene from the behind. It's called a bend away. It's not a straightaway. This is the Jenna curve. Watch her just slightly tap. This is a really good negotiation here. 2 hits is the norm. That was pretty fast.
Quick away, no huddle offense from Brittany Reinbold and Lauren Gibbs of the USA. Reinbold in her first ever international season, her first ever World Championships.
5:24 in the first run, 5:24 in the second run. This might be some of the fastest starts that Brittany Reinbold's ever got. Lauren Gibbs did a great job.
Second race weekend on this track. S4, good exit from there, down the bend away. She had a little skid in the first heat, that's better. She's gonna find speed now out of the Kreisel.
110.8's not the best, but it's very good. Now the 100-meter labyrinth. This is a real dangerous part of that track, and she squares it up there in the 3rd part of the labyrinth.
2400s up at the start. She's still 2400s in front of Elfie Willemsen. What's she got left? 1500s.
7th best speed. She's probably going to win by single digits.
From Searcy, Arkansas, she has the lead of the race for the USA.
Faster. 4,800s faster, so we got a faster track here.
That was as quick as Elfie Willemsen. Those 2 are the fastest down, and this is only her second race on this track, don't forget.
Yeah,
Elfie's been here for half a dozen years.
Quite a performance by Lauren Gibbs. That's very good start times. And consistency in both runs. Watch the back end of the sled here. When I talk about squaring it up, this is when both sides hit. Watch the back end come up a little bit. Now she's skidding the take on the Kelstein curve. Didn't lose too much with that, though. Much better second run for Brittany.
Look at the smile. Into the fastest dozen from the first of 4 heats in the Women's Bobsled World Championships. Martin Haven and John Morgan watching the action trackside in Königssee, Bavaria. Kristen Schenkel, former brakewoman, has won world and European medals, as well as being 4th in the Olympic Games as a brakewoman. As recently as this time last season, she was still at the back of the sled. This is her first year driving, and here she is, 12th in the World Championships.
Yeah, they've accelerated her right into the front seat. And, you know, she's a great athlete, 5:25. It's the second best start. She had some real problems driving down on that exit of the 4 S's or the snake pit. Let's see if she can correct it.
Made her driving debut on this track in January 2016, so 13 months ago.
Same mistake she had the first run of the exit of the S's.
And the only driver we've seen hitting that short wall on the inside.
110.5, that's not the same speed that Brittany Reinbold had.
Close. Second fastest, I think, into the Kreisel. 400
She's doing
away.
good here, though. Real high in Kelstein. It's close. Speed going to be important.
She was only 100th in front of Brittany
best speed.
Reinbold
She's
in the
pulling
first
away.
heat.
Much better heat for Kristen Schenkel in her first World Championships,
Yeah.
51.49. How about that? There's 61 hundredths better in the second run than the first run. We're getting down near track record if they keep this up.
Wait a minute, 51.49 would have left her fastest in the first heat.
Yeah.
Fastest run in the first heat in the rain and the slush was 51.6.
She comes out here early, both trips, hits the wall. Look, you can see the gouges in the wall here. Watch it, see? And this, without this, she would have been another 25 hundredths better at the bottom part of the track. But hey, the Germans have taken a brakeman, an experienced brakeman, put her in the front seat, and she is starting to perform.
Isn't she though? Great run from her. 11th place after the first of 4 heats, 200ths in front of the German Kristen Schenkel is Canada's Christine de Brun, third out of the start shed with her Québécoise brakewoman Geneviève Thibault. Gigi giving Christine a big push from the start.
This is a sled that they've rented. It had Le Plan on it, so it was a French sled. Look at the weather. Look at the snow coming back. Wet snow. 5:38 start. 5:38 in the first run, so 9th best velocity. Brakeman, another one of the Rugby Sevens players. There's multiple Rugby Sevens players in the field.
Christine, originally a brakewoman, a former sprinter. She's from Edmonton, Alberta, now lives in Calgary.
Good lines. 110.5 speed, at least. 110.6. She's got a chance, but she's a quarter of a second back.
And there were 3 players in this field.
2400s. She's going to have the fastest speed to have any chance here at the bottom, or she's going to fall 2 or 3 places.
Yeah, she's down to 3rd place on the splits.
She's coming.
Gap's coming down, but there's not enough track left to make a big difference. Still 3rd at the line.
51.70, and she comes down 38 hundredths better.
So Kristen Schenkel and Kristen Strack are still the leaders for Germany. Brittany Reinbold in 2nd place. Christine de Brun slips a couple of spots. Husband Ivo will race tomorrow as we start our 2-man competition for the men. He's a Dutchman.
Geneviève Thibault, again, the Sevens player, the only person from Quebec on the Canadian squad. It wasn't bad. She drove through there. The 2 hits with a little bit of a skid.
Should be 2 French Canadians, but Sam Giguère, who comes in from the Montreal Alouettes, is not fit enough to compete. Kristen Schenkel of Germany leads, 10 down, 11 to come in our 2nd of 4 heats. No break in the first day of action because of the weather. This is Switzerland's Sabine Hafner, back after a 5-year layoff.
We used to call her we still call her the firecracker because she was an electrician back then, and now I said, where have you been the last 4 years? She says, I was in school. She's an electrical engineer now. And
we should call her Dottore Ingegneri, Sabine Hafner.
Well, she is a firecracker. That sort of just sums up her persona. Look at these lines. She knows how to drive. Got a new set of runners from that guy named Christoph Langen this week.
Yellow visor to cut down the glare from the wet ice.
Good speed. She's going to need it, but she's way back, 3/10 back.
She's going to slip 2 or 3 spots, maybe more, down to 7th place on the split times.
Remember, the track's getting used up. This is the 11th sled down. So the track gets a little iced, you know.
4th fastest, down towards the bottom, but she is going to slide way down the order.
Wow, 9th best time of the run. The German girls get to live another one that, boy, Sabina is not going to be happy. Hard to figure out where she went wrong.
Well, Kristen Schenkel, who started driving 12 months ago, is going to finish the first day of her first ever World Championships as a driver in the top 10.
We're going to show you how you come down this straightaway. There's different ways to get down here. Look at the 2 sleds. The German, who's the leading sled, and Hafter did not make many mistakes. So I don't understand why she's so slow. Those were pretty good lines.
We saw her overlap. The German sled was coming back on top of her all the way down that little 100-meter section. 9th after the first of 4 heats in the World Championships. Last year in Eagles, Austria, was Christina Hengster. She crashed in the final couple of corners. This year, no crash, but she's still in 9th position with Jennifer Onesanya, her brakewoman, another Dutch-born brakewoman in the Austrian sleds.
Well, very surprising why she was not very good in the first run. 5:29 start, which is 300ths better. 5th best velocity. Well, that's 3rd best start, 5th best velocity. That's not good entry into the sleds. Hengster, you know, she's 4th in World Cup points. Look at those lines. I mean, this is as good as that we've seen of anybody in 2 heats. 110.7, 110.9. That's great speed, and you would expect this. She's medaled on this track before. She medaled in the opening race of the year in Whistler.
Nice looking run from Christina Hengster. She was 8th here 3 weeks ago. She was 9th in the first heat. Will she take the lead from Kristen Schenkel? She's pulling away from the German. Doesn't have great speed at the bottom, but it's enough to go into the lead.
4,500ths better. She likes that. She pounds the Callan.
Fastest run so far on the track today. 2 sleds now, quicker than anybody produced in the first heat.
Look at Hans Hildebrand looked at. I mean, great sled builder. If you could get one of his sleds in the 80s and 90s, you were ahead of the curve, that's for sure.
Big smiles from Christina Hengster. Look at this exit of S4, John.
This is textbook how she comes down there. She feathers her way around that bend away without steering. Such minute, you know, hand-eye coordination to do that. Talent, she's got it. She shouldn't have been back in 9th place the end of the first run.
For Japan, Maria Oshigiri, first of our starters in the World Championship. She must have been nervous and uptight, but boy, it didn't look it with her brakewoman Arisa Kimishima. They were the 10th fastest starters, but they finished in 8th place after the first heat. She's been outstanding this season for such a young driver.
10th best start, Kimishima, the brakeman.
22 years old.
American father, Japanese mother. 11.700 meters. Best in Japan is 11.2.
And Maria finished in 10th place in the race here 3 weeks ago. A borrowed Swiss sled.
Rented Swiss sled.
Rented from Billy Meyerhands.
5:31 start, 300ths better. Start velocity, 5th. But I have been so impressed with the Japanese. The first time they've ever hired in the years I've been in the sport, we've ever seen a foreign coach. Oh, she was real high in that 3rd S.
It's a little tap onto the bend away. 100th behind at the start. Still only 100th behind Christina Hengster.
110 what? 111.3. No one's had over 111.3 like this sled.
That Swiss sled was fast in the first heat, and that was not a mistake. 400ths away. But she's got a really good run going again. Second on the split time.
This would be unbelievable if a Japanese sled in the top 10 like this. She's 1000ths back though.
Still second on the splits. She
best speed.
will be in front of Kristen Schenkel at the line, and that's a really good run. Finishes day 1 in the top 9, guaranteed.
Japan. Hans Wimmer on the left, the coach. builds sleds, builds equipment, runners. The Japanese have finally tapped into European coaching and experience. That's why this sled's in the top 10.
She started as a brake woman back in 2010. This is her second season driving, her first in Europe. And she finished 10th here 3 weeks ago. She's in the top 10 in the World Championship.
Look at the speed here, difference. Oshigira had way better speed after the 4 S's, and look how high she gets here.
Yep.
That's as high a line as we've seen of anybody. Maybe that's the line that you want.
Well, the Germans use it. If you can drive it out on the exit, it works. Here comes Misha McNeil, the junior world champion for 2017, with Mika Moore, her brake woman. Just met her dad and her brother who are here watching her compete. 7th after the first heat, within 500s of a top 4 position. There's her coach, Dominic Scherer, watching in the S's.
Well, it's a pivotal part of the track. The exit here, rubber tips. Skid.
Long skid, but she doesn't panic. Oh, that's going to cost her time and money.
Red numbers, 109.5, some of the worst speed we've seen in the last 6 sleds.
And because she doesn't have the speed, the sled's going up and
Watch
down
out
in the
here.
Kreisel.
She really came out of there too early. The Kreisel, too much steering. Now she's starting to really drop.
Yep. 4th on the split times, 1300ths of a second back. Down
Could
5 spots.
5 spots
She'll be out
here.
of the top 10 at the end of the first day, and that's a big disappointment. Only the 12th fastest run.
So Christina Hengster's doing what we expect her to do, get up into the top 3 or 4, challenge for the medals.
Yeah.
Misha McNeil, the junior world champion, not a good run. The exit of the S's, and as you called it, her coach was up there in the 3rd S, looking for her to hit her mark, and obviously she did not.
Mark Lewis Francis helping with the sled at the bottom. Well, that's the loose run that Misha McNeil didn't want. Waving in the Kreisel.
Well, it's pretty
a 10th
equal.
of a meter longer, but
still look at that big variance there.
And that'll take speed out of the sled. Fastest 6 of the first heat of 4 of the Women's Bobsleigh World Championships next up. This is Stephanie Schneider, has missed most of the season. Crashed in Whistler in training, broke her collarbone, came back, crashed immediately 3 races later, re-injured herself. This is only her 3rd top-line race this season.
Well, this is another former great German brakeman who they've accelerated into the front seat. She had a disastrous early part of the season, crashing twice in Whistler, broke her collarbone, damaged her shoulder, so she sat out until Winterberg into mid-January, crashed again in Winterberg in training, did not compete in that race, and here she is at the World Championships.
Here earlier in Winterberg, she'd been bronze medalist in the World Championships, breaking for Anja Schneiderheinzer.
A lot of hits. Ooh, and she took a lot of that Jetta curve, no speed.
But like Kristen Schenkel, her teammate, this is only her 2nd season of driving. Good exit down below.
Ooh, that's a real
400s in front. She's still leading Christina
Not
Hengster.
anymore. Red numbers.
It's not going to be far behind. This is going to be 2nd at the line, ahead of Maria Oshigiri of Japan. No, behind Oshigiri by 200.
Japan is in 7. Look at Reddy Spies on the left, Leo Leopold on the right. This is another inexperienced driver, just like the other German sled, Schenkel, but these are their former brakemen that they've accelerated into the front seat. Eventually, when these girls learn how to drive, the Germans are going to have some good talent right here.
Lisa Marie Buchwitz, another medal-winning brake woman behind her.
Look at the right runner in our screen. Watch the back end here, squaring it up. Both runners will come up in the air. Look at the way the brakeman, the driver's head shifts there. Too much friction.
Christina Hengster of Austria leads the 2nd heat of the Women's Bobsleigh World Championships. Next up is Jamie Grubel-Poser with Asia Evans behind her. Jamie, the Olympic bronze medalist from Sochi 2014.
Both of them.
Yep.
They were the teammates. 5:20 start in the first run, 2nd best start.
5th after the first heat.
Surprised she's in 5th. 2nd World Cup points. She's got 1 gold medal this year.
This is only the 2nd World Championship start for Asia Evans. She competed in the San Moritz in 2013 behind Jasmine Fenlater, who then drove for the USA, now for Jamaica.
Asia Evans' brother Fred, lineman for the Minnesota Vikings. She comes from quite a athletic background, that's for sure. 2400s to 2500s. Jamie shouldn't have been back here in 6th. I have her challenging for one of the top 3 medal positions, if not the gold. 110.7 is good speed. Now watch this nemesis part of the track. Nice.
She was 1200s out of the medals after the first heat, and this is an even tidier looking run. 2400s up, she's keeping that advantage over
she really
Christina
came off
Hengster.
the Echo Von with a lot of violence on the exit.
Fell off the corner, and it's 51.38. That is the fastest run of the heat.
Yeah,
half a second
4400s better.
Yeah.
So anybody gets into that 40, 5000s better is really moving up. She shouldn't have been back here in 6th to start with. I expect her to still have a chance to challenge for a medal.
And another 5:20 start. Great getaway from Jamie Grubel-Poser and Asia Evans.
Well, watch this. This is the speed. Look at the difference in speed. Hengster had the best speed, but watch the way the sled violently comes off there. See that? And that's flat. She came off in the flat, drifts over, taps the wall. That's that uphill section of the track I call the graveyard section. You're going uphill. You do not want to hit the wall.
Fastest 4 sleds in the first heat still to come. This is Alicia Rissling of Canada with Cynthia Appiah. She was in 4th position, the 2nd of our Canadian sleds.
You might think that what's she doing in 4th? Well, she was 4th and 5th in the first 2 races in North America, so Alicia Rissling, she could be on the verge of some greatness here for Canada. Has 2 sleds in the top 4.
Second World Championships last year in Eagles, she was 13th. 3 weeks ago, she was 9th in the World Cup race. She was 4th after the first heat here.
Exit, rubber tips. Not bad. In fact, pretty good. She's going to need 110. Ooh, 3, little hit there, 3 hits. 110.7 speed, have a chance. 110.5. It's going to be tough for her to catch Grubel here on the bottom.
Only in 3rd on the split times, up to 2nd position on the split. So this will see her in front of Christina Hengster if she gets clean here off Echo Von, and she does.
Yeah, nice, but oh, she's falling back more time.
13th on the speed. This is something we've seen from the Canadian sleds all season long. Good lines, but the speed drops away.
Only 1400s better in the 2nd run. Jamie Grubel-Poser, for example, went 4300s. Most of the other sleds like Hengster, 50, 1600s. Only 1400s. Something happened up there.
Well, again,
of course, that 3 hits in the straightaway didn't help her. Not the straightaway, the bend away. And this is down in the labyrinths. Good lines here. Watch the back end, the transition of the sled. Nice. Can't fault anything there.
Nice and smooth. Germany's Mariama Yamanka lying 3rd after the first of 4 heats in the Women's Bobsleigh World Championships. Martin Haven and John Morgan watching the action with you trackside in Königssee, Bavaria. Annika Dracek on the back handles is the reigning world champion. Won the title in Innsbruck, Austria last year with Anja Schneider-Heinze, who is now retired from the sport.
She's some kind of athlete. Rennie Spies told me when they checked her out, besides the running and the sprinting, they do a medical breakdown on her. He says she's just got some kind of flexibility, even down to her Achilles. He was trying to give me some kind of sports science explanation, but all I know is this: she posts some unbelievable start times.
In the best way possible, she's just a freak. She's very slightly different in some way that works in bobsled.
Jamaica was getting 10, 12 best start times with the other brakemen. All of a sudden, she's getting the 2nd best starts with this group.
Last year in the World Championships, Mariama was 7th. 3 weeks ago, she took the bronze medal in the World Cup race on this track. She lies 3rd after the first of our 4 heats. Good speed, 110.4.
Well, she's already behind, though. That's relative a little bit to the start.
She can keep the speed alive at the bottom. She's got a great chance to stay in the top 3. Jamie Grubel-Poser is your leader at the moment. No, she's drifting away.
This is going to be at least 1 spot she's going to drop. She drops 9th best time of the run. And Jamie Grubel-Poser and her teammate Asia Evans move up into where we expected them to be at the end of the first run.
Well, this is going to be a really tough fought top 3 because there's half a dozen athletes that should be in there.
You know, her problems were up in that, not straight away, the bend away here, but watch the rudder tips. Watch her try and steer over here. Here's 1 hit. Watch, look at that little steer there. 2, 3 hits, and then she crushed it into the wall there. And then here on the Echovand, she taps going uphill. A couple mistakes there by this young German driver, but she's got tomorrow.
Olympic champion Kaylee Humphries lying in second place after the first of 4 runs in a women's bobsleigh world championships, with Melissa Lottholz behind her. Humphries twice a world champion, twice an Olympic champion. And on this track, she hasn't won since December 2015.
5:28 start. Very, very suspect in the first run from these two. They should have been on 5:20, 5:22. Let's see what they can do here.
Lottholz vanishes into the sled like there's a trapdoor. 5:26.
Surprised at that.
Well, it's only 300 slower than Mariama Yamanka and Annika Dratsek.
Yeah, but she should be down there challenging Jamie Grubel-Poser. 5:20 for the second or third best start. Not with the 7th best start in the first heat. Nobody drove better lines than the Olympic champion.
In the red as she comes out of the
This is
Schlangengruber.
as good as it gets. Speed, 110.8.
Is there any speed left in the track? She's still behind Jamie Grubel-Poser. Was 100th, now 200th up.
This is what you expect out of the... She could even get this out to 10, 1200. She's got great lines on the bottom part of the track in the first run and again in the second run, but it's only 300s.
Well, the gap covering the top 3 was only 900s after the first heat. We've now got 300s first to second.
See, did you see what Asia Evans just said? Tomorrow.
Yeah.
If I'm Jamie Grubel-Poser and Asia Evans, I like what just happened here in the second run.
Yep.
They brought themselves back into the medal contention, and this could be even a gold medal contention.
Well, Asia Evans has never had a world championship medal yet.
And neither has Jamie Grubel-Poser.
This is true.
The lines here from the Olympic champion, 2-time world champion, well, are pretty textbook. Just didn't have any speed on the bottom. The start time, though, really, really surprised at their start times.
No smile on Kaylee Humphries' face. There it is. Fastest in the first of 4 heats. Alana Myers-Taylor ended the first run of day 1 of the Bobsleigh World Championships with the lead. Can she go to bed, leading the race at the midway point? First quarter went well. What about the second quarter? Kerry Jones behind her. They've been race winners this season.
Track and field star from Baylor, the little pocket rocket, the smallest athlete in the field. But boy,
5'1".
can she run.
Yes, she can.
And the speed, 5:17 first run, 5:18 first run. So second best velocity, though, to their teammate, Jamie Grubel-Poser and Asia Evans. Now, Alana's had some issues with this track, even though she's won 4 straight races, including the race here 3 weeks ago, but she crashed in the first heat of training.
She's won the last 2 races on this track. But it's exiting the Kreisel that is always the tricky section.
That's adequate for her to beat a leader. Watch the exit. Nice.
Straight down the middle, and that's what keeps the speed alive in the bottom portion of this track.
She didn't have as many issues with Kelstein curve like she did the first run.
That's
Here going uphill, coming down. This is going to be close.
600s.
We're going to have 3 sleds within a couple hundred.
We're going to have a tie for the lead.
Wow.
No, 200s of a second in front.
3 sleds within 500s. The same people. Wow, they have to sleep on it overnight. All 3 of these athletes, Jamie Grubel-Poser, Kaylee Humphries, and Alana Myers, will sleeping on the chance to win a world championship tomorrow.
Alana's husband, Nick Taylor, holding the sled. And Alana threads it nicely down here, but John's still a little bumpy at the end of the labyrinth.
Yeah, a little back end. When the 2 back runners go up in the air, we call it squaring it up.
So Alana Myers-Taylor leads. The difference in the top 3 is that Jamie Grubel-Poser leaps from 5th to 3rd overnight. Mariama Yamanka a quarter of a second behind, and maybe 2/10 out of the medals is too much. Christina Hengster, another big climber, up to 5th. Alicia Rissling 6th, and Maria Oshigiri of Japan 7th. What a day! She can crash in the heat 2 or in day 2, and she's still done a stunning job. Oshigiri 7th place. Wow.
Awesome for the Japanese. Here's our final sled of the day now. They go 20th place to 1, and then 20 up.
So this is Konomi Osazu. Last year, Konomi was still a brakewoman. This is her first ever year driving a sled. And Matumi Sakauchi, this is her first year ever in bobsled. So this is, apart from our Chinese, about the least experienced crew you can manage put together.
No one has more fun on the venue, and these two smiling, laughing. You think that they were going to a prom every single day they come out here. They just got big smiles on their face. That's probably the best way to approach the sport.
And as we saw with a number of the nations, these two athletes are learning their trade. Asazu driving for the very first time this year.
Good lines there. A lot of the Jenna curve though, 109.9. Not that deficient of a speed from the last sled in the field. Watch out, she's a little late here. Gets through it.
Marks on the tracker from our crash in the first heat. Agnieszka Sergeva of Russia, who lies fourth in the World Cup standings, crashed out in the labyrinth in the first run. And Asazu, is she going to close into the top 20? No, she does not catch Ying of China. So she will be in 21st place overnight. And as with every other young athlete, it's all about learning, it's all about time on the ice, it's all about experience. She's a former brakewoman. She went to Vancouver as a brakewoman for then driver Manami Hino. She was braking for Maria Oshigiri this time last season in North America's Cup, and now here she is driving in the World Championships. And her brakewoman being bounced around a little there at the end of the labyrinth as they get a rocky and rolling.
They see the smile.
Yeah.
That's all they do.
Hey, listen, nobody's in this sport for the money. Everybody stays for the love of it. And Alana Myers-Taylor is loving it right now. On a tear, 4 straight World Cup wins, 2 straight wins on this track, including 3 weeks ago. And Alana Myers-Taylor, the 2015 world champion, leads after day 1.
But her teammate, Jamie Grubel-Poser, had the best time of the second run. And now we got 3 sleds separated by 500ths. What a race we have tomorrow for a world championship. Make sure you check us out. It's going to be awesome.
So here is our result at the end of day 1 of 2. 2 of 4 heats done. Alana Myers-Taylor, Kaylee Humphries, Jamie Grubel-Poser. That is effectively a dead heat for the medals. Mariama Yamanka, Christina Hengster, Alicia Rissling, really close, 600ths of a second covering those 3. Maria Oshigiri of Japan, what a great run from her to be in front of 2 Germans. Stephanie Schneider, Kristen Schenkel tied for 8th. Brittany Reinbold, top 10 result, great for her. Misha Benil slipped from 7th to 11th. She's got a lot of work to do tomorrow to retake that place. And Ying of China, in her first ever international race, lies in 20th place. 1 sled did not complete the first heat and does not compete any further, and that is Agnieszka Sergeva of Russia. Well, it's been a bit of a rainy, snowy, foggy, misty, nasty day today. Day 2 of the World Championships brings 2-man action as well as deciding the women's title. Join us on Saturday in Königssee, Bavaria. From John Morgan, me, Martin Haven, and the rest of the FIB TV crew. Auf Wiedersehen from Königssee.